Since the dawn of human imagination, man has dreamed to capture the human form in the creation of a robot. But for most of humanity's existence, robots were just that, a dream. This was true until 1954, when George C. Duval created the world's first functioning industrial robot, Unimate. Unimate, the industrial robot invented in 1954 by George C. Duval with the help of Joseph Engelberger, spread across the US and the rest of the world. It automated multiple industries while creating a whole new one, the robotics industry. This robot was the first of its kind. It created safer working environments in factories and helped produce more complex and dangerous products on an industrial scale, which is a practice still prevalent today. But in this process, many people lost their jobs in these factories, a fear people increasingly feel now as robots start to move into an ever greater number of fields. Despite this, the invention of Unimate has still been an overall positive improvement for mankind and balances out the loss of jobs with improved efficiency in production, innovations in technology, and the creation of new jobs by the very same industry Unimate helped build. George Duval and Joseph Engelberger are born. These two men were going to change the history of robotics in a way no one had before. They were going to take robots out of science fiction and into science fact. George Duval was born on February 20th, 1912 in Louisville, Kentucky to a wealthy family. He was educated at the Reardon Prep School where he would develop an early interest in technology. Following his graduation, he decided to forego a higher education to start business and patent his inventions. These experiences led Duval to first recognize the potential value that automation could bring. But after World War II, George Duval decided to resign from his current position at General Electric over a disagreement involving new product lines. This turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as this would eventually lead George Duval to begin work on his new patent that would soon turn into Unimate. Now enters his future partner, Joseph Engelberger, aka the father of robotics. Born on July 26, 1925 in Brooklyn, New York, Engelberger would grow up in a world with a newly lit interest with the concept of robots, as the term was only coined 4 years before his birth. This would no doubtly go on to influence the young Engelberger as he started his career. At the age of 17, Engelberger joined the U.S. Navy and served from 1942 to 1946. During his service, Joseph Engelberger worked on the atom bomb project at Bikini Island, which, as he said, the Navy made a physicist of me. After his service, Engelberger went on to study at the University of Columbia and got a bachelor's in physics, as well as a master's in electrical engineering. During and after his studies at Columbia, Engelberger started to work for Manning, Maxwell & Moore Incorporated and established their aircraft products division, but soon, one chance meeting at a cocktail party would change his future. In 1954, George Duval had filed U.S. patent number 2,988,237 that described his programmed article transfer device. This poorly named innovation would soon become Unimation, or Unimate, a combination of the words universal and automation. But before we move on, it is important that we look into how Unimate functioned. At its base components, Unimate is just a programmable metal arm built with the intention to move parts. And move parts it could. Unimate could lift and handle parts up to 500 pounds at high speed with its aluminum arm. What makes Unimate special in history, though, and different from all the other robot-esque inventions that came before it, was that Unimate had memory and could be told to do certain tasks, just like living workers. Better yet, Unimate wasn't just a one-trick pony. It could be reprogrammed to do a multitude of different tasks and was quite versatile. All of this combined created a game-changing invention in automating production, and this invention would not go unrecognized for long. In 1956, while Duval's patent for Unimate was still pending, an historical meeting occurred. At a cocktail party, George Duval and Joseph Engelberger met for the very first time. They discussed Isaac Asimov's robotic philosophies, as he was a science fiction author both were interested in. This discussion about robots eventually led to Duval introducing the Unimate to Engelberger. Recognizing an opportunity in a robot when he sees one, Engelberger agreed to a partnership with Duval that would change their careers and history along with it forever. Engelberger acted as the founder and director of Consolidated Controls Corporation, which was a subsidiary of the larger Conduct Corporation based in Bethel, Connecticut. In 1957, Engelberger pitched Unimate to the CEO of Conduct Corporation in hopes of getting funding to create a prototype. Lucky for Engelberger and Duval, he said yes. After a close 2 years of development, Engelberger and Duval finally produced the prototype, the Unimate number 001. Thus, Unimate was born. Knowing that manufacturers would be wary of the adoption of such a radical change in their factories, Joseph Engelberger took a page, so to speak, from one of Isaac Asimov's stories, Runaround, published in 1942. In this story, he lays out the 3 basic laws a robot should follow. Engelberger focused on the first law, that a robot should cause no harm to humans. So, Engelberger decided to pitch Unimate to the manufacturers as a robot that can complete tasks that would otherwise be dangerous to humans. This strategy worked, and in 1959, the very first industrial robot, Unimate number 001, was installed at the General Motors die casting plant in Trenton, New Jersey, a revolutionizing event in manufacturing history. Years later, in 1961, Joseph Engelberger established Unimation Incorporated in Danbury, Connecticut. This was another subsidiary of Kodak Corporation. Engelberger placed himself as director of this new company and helped build the business. With Engelberger heading Unimation Incorporated, the Unimate 1900 series became the first mass-produced robotic arm. After 7 years, George Duval was finally granted his patent for Unimate in 1961. That very same year, his invention makes its first public appearance at a trade show at Chicago's Cow Palace. Unimate would soon make a flashier public appearance in 1966 when Engelberger decided to bring the robot with him onto The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Engelberger's plan was to demonstrate Unimate's different capabilities by showing it to complete tasks better than the host, Johnny Carson. Tasks such as playing golf, doing a commercial, and conducting the house band. This not only worked to wow the public with the Unimate technology, but also introduced Unimate to the entire United States and the manufacturers there. But Engelberger had greater ambition for a little robot that would spread it all across the world. In 1965, Joseph Engelberger has become the vice president of Kodak Corporation, and he will stay in this position until 1986. Still dedicated to his robot, Engelberger worked to broaden the customer base of Unimate to an international market by licensing the manufacturing rights to companies the world over in order to fulfill the need for robots there that Unimation Incorporated couldn't. In 1966, Engelberger began his efforts to spread industrial robotics to the rest of the world with European businesses like the Finnish company Nokia, who licensed Unimate to cover the robot markets of Scandinavia and Eastern Europe. But in no place is it more apparent of Joseph Engelberger's success in licensing than Japan. Like other countries driving the manufacturers back in the US, Japan welcomed the idea of industrial robots with open arms. Literally, the Japanese government invited Joseph Engelberger to the country to talk to 400 Japanese executives in Tokyo on the possibility of Unimate in Japan. This is more eyes and ears on Unimate that Engelberger could ever hope to have gotten from US executives. The Japan's overwhelming embrace of the concept of robots paid off for Japan, and in 1969, the licensing agreement for Unimate was signed to Kawasaki Heavy Industries, now called Kawasaki Robotics, to supply industrial robots to the Asian market. As a whole, Japan has benefited greatly from the manufacture of industrial robots. According to the International Federation of Robotics, Japan is a highly roboticized country and global frontrunner in the use of robots for everyday life. Today, it accounts for 45% of the global industrial robot supply. Back in the United States, one of the few American companies to believe in Unimate, General Motors, has jumped way ahead of the rest of the automotive industry with the help of the robot. General Motors' Lordstown, Ohio plant was able to produce 110 cars per hour after installing Unimate's spot welding robots in 1969. This was a world record at the time and reshaped the rest of the automotive industry. But Unimate and the other robots that were created after haven't stopped at just the car business. With modern technology, industrial robots have been able to save companies up to 15.8% on manufacturing costs and are expected to be able to save them almost 22% by the year 2025. This is all according to a study done by the industrial research website Technavio. These lower costs on the company to produce goods gets passed down onto the consumer, making these products cheaper to buy. Far the most contentious issue regarding robots today is their effect on labor and the displacement of jobs. According to the World Economic Forum, the robots are expected to supplement about 85 million jobs by the year 2025. It is also expected to create 97 million new jobs by that time as well. These jobs would likely come in the form of more skill-focused roles with competitive salaries, as most jobs that robots tend to supplement are low-level and repetitive entry-level positions. Employment due to the robotics industry isn't just in the future, but can be found in the present too. By some calculations, there are around 132,500 robotics engineers in the U.S. as of now, and is projected to grow by 6.4% between 2016 and 2026. The Honda Motor Company is the largest robotics company in the world, and it alone employs nearly 220,000 people. So it is untrue to say that robots cause unemployment. The robotics industry is the cause of a great amount of employment from companies worldwide. Rather than being a curse unemployment rate, the creation of Unimate has been a blessing, bringing along with it new careers, companies, and a completely new industry. As for the robot and its makers that started it all, both Joseph Engelberger and George Duval received praise for Unimate and their lifetime's dedication to innovation and business. George Duval continued to patent his inventions for the rest of his career and stayed an important figure in the robotics community until his death on August 11, 2011 at age 99, at which he was then inducted into the Inventors Hall of Fame for his industrial robot. Similarly, Joseph Engelberger had many awards in his lifetime for his involvement with Unimate, such as the Robotics Industries Association named the prestigious annual award after him in 1977. After being inducted into the U.S. Manufacturers Hall of Fame in 2009. He would die 6 years later on December 1, 2015 at age 90. Although neither of the men themselves nor the company they built stand today, the legacy they left behind endures. The legacy of more efficient production, the legacy of a thankful robotics industry, and the legacy of opening up a new frontier for the rest of the world to explore and invent in, the frontier of robots.